In today's video, Ant and I are going head-to-head to decide who is the better rapper. There's going to be 2 rappers going head-to-head for 7 different rounds, and you guys let us know who wins every single round in the comments. And if you guys want to catch more debate videos just like this, head over to the pinned comment where we actually linked our Patreon, where we do debate videos for the debate tier. 2 videos a month exclusive on Patreon, so much love to everyone subscribed there. But let's get into this, bro, because this was really fun to put together. A lot of cool matchups here.
Yes, there is.
And let's start off with J.Cole versus Drake, because I feel like this is one of those matchups where there's no right answer. There's no final
I think there's a right
ultimate
answer.
These are 2 all-time greats.
Yes.
I want to give them both their flowers.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they've carried this generation on their backs.
Absolutely.
You know, them and a couple of other guys.
Oh, absolutely. I think that when you look at this type of conversation, you could angle it at different ways. You know, you could obviously give Drake the dominance of the 2010s. You could talk about his hit-making ability, the way that he has classics in his discography, his influence over time, how many careers he's been able to put onto the stage. But when I was looking at this, I went for really the rapper versus rapper and who pound for pound is the better rapper. And that's why I went with J. Cole for today. I feel like when you actually get into the meat of this argument, like I said, you could go into a lot of different areas, but I want to start off with catalog, okay? Because I think that's maybe an important place where you want to start off, right?
It is.
I think Drake has 3 classic albums. I think you look at Nothing Was the Same, Take Care, and if you're reading this, it's too late. In that order, best to worst. But I could argue that...
I swear to disagree there, but keep going. I'll let you finish your point.
No. But the thing is, Views is debatable. Views is the most debatable one. I think that those 3 are solidified as his classics. I think when you look at J. Cole, has a classic mixtape like If You're Reading This, It's Too Late with Friday Night Lights, has For Your Eyes Only, a classic concept record in hip-hop for the 2010s decade, and you have 2014 Forest Hills Drive, and I did my whole free smoke argument on why I think 2014 is better than Nothing Was the Same, so 2014 would automatically be his best album in his catalog. So that's where I think he gets him on the catalog. Also,
how does he get him on the catalog if you just said they have an equal amount of classics? And to be honest with you, I don't agree that For Your Eyes Only is a classic, and that's sort of where my argument comes in, is the fact that I do think that Drake has more classic records, being Nothing Was the Same, Take Care, If You're Reading This, but honestly, I would even put Views in front of If You're Reading This, just because of what that did in 2016, how it really put Drake at the spot of being the biggest artist in the world, how he ushered in different genres from foreign markets, brought them to prominence for the States. But beyond that, I just don't know if For Your Eyes Only is a classic. I think it's a masterpiece. I think it's a flawless album in my eyes, but has the community and has... You know, the hip-hop heads, have they all deemed it to be a classic? I don't know, because I'll put it this way. If you put a room of 100 hip-hop fans and ask them, is Get Rich or Die Trying a classic album, they're mostly all going to say yes. If you do the same thing for something like a Nothing Was the Same or a 2014, they'll say yes. But For Your Eyes Only, I don't know if people are going to say yes.
No, absolutely. I definitely think if you were to go on our Twitter right now and put up that question,
it's not the consensus.
Absolutely. I think people
a lot of people don't even view J. Cole of having any classics, which is a horrible take.
That's blasphemy. And I also think that if you look at the way that J. Cole actually crafted over his discography, I do feel like personally it's a bit more intentional. In the latter half of Drake's career, if I look at the last 2 solo efforts, right? I feel like he did a great job in the collaboration on With Her Loss. I'm a fan of Honestly Nevermind, and I think Dark Lane Demo Tapes is a good compilation album that I still have in rotation. I love listening to it from start to finish. But looking at something like a CLB or a For All the Dogs, I do feel like that kind of weighs down this conversation a bit. And in a recent TikTok, I had said that, hey, maybe I could consider Drake's discography a top 10 of all time. That was something I was really considering, but when you have those big duds, in my opinion, like a CLB and now like a For All the Dogs, it's starting to get a bit worrisome of where he's going with it. Look at J. Cole, let's say, in the past 5 years. Extremely intentional, and he knows when to put out his albums. You look at a KOD, fantastic record in 2018, conceptual, memorable tracks, deep, profound writing. Everything you want out of a rap album was within that record. Took some time off, comes back in 2021 with the offseason. It was arguably the best album that came out that year to some hip-hop fans. So I even think looking later down the line, you could see how maybe J. Cole's discography is starting to overtake Drake's, and I think it's finally there at this time for me.
I feel like the catalog conversation does ultimately go to Drake, because yes, even though you have some weaker albums, the fact that he's been able to be the top dog for like 15 years at this point, and not only a top dog in terms of having the most numbers, but just being the focal point of conversation for so many people, for being the guy that sets certain cultural trends, for having the influence that he's had when it comes to maintaining that machismo, that macho sort of demeanor, but also bringing in that vulnerability into the music. I feel like when looking at both artists, Drake is higher on my all-time list just because, yes, he might not be as conscious of a rapper as a J. Cole, but when I look at his music, he's made more accessible music, and I think that there's a lot of more replay value in Drake's catalog for most hip-hop fans, and the reason for that is just because Drake's able to do more stylistically, and I think that as the years go on, we're going to be looking at certain albums like an Honestly Nevermind or like a Views with a lot of praise just because Drake has not only been able to be very close with J. Cole when it comes to a bar-for-bar level, when you look at his songs like Lemon Peppers, 8 a.m. in Charlotte's, etc., but he's also been able to take hip-hop into another direction completely, a global direction where you now have certain artists that are making rap albums that fuse all of these different genres and that are taking more risks, and I feel like if Drake wasn't part of that equation, you wouldn't have a lot of the...
You wouldn't. Arguably, you wouldn't. And I do agree with you. I think he gets him on the versatility, and I think he gets him on, let's say, blending in all these types of different sounds, like an Afrobeat or like a dancehall, UK grind,
R&B, etc.
Absolutely. Yeah, you have so many different subgenres that come through and that make a Drake album. I just think that even at that, okay, that's on the total artistry sort of thing, because that's the conversation we're having, right? It goes on even beyond the rapper standpoint. J. Cole also produced most of his catalog as well. He's an incredible producer, and he's someone that has taken extreme care to even dive into his own soundscapes. And another thing I have to give him credit for is even the no features. I know it's the generic argument to come through with it, but it's important to me because if you look at the way that this guy was able to get to the top of the rap game and able to maintain that position for so long and his dominance for so long, it was by himself, and I'm not saying that that's
his debut album is like loaded with big name features.
But his biggest and most iconic albums are still by himself. What I'm trying to say as well is that if you look at the way J. Cole's been able to form his career, it's been all on his pen game, and that's what I come down to. Lou, there's no argument. I think J. Cole's pen game is a lot better than Drake's.
I don't think it's a lot better than Drake's. Listen, I'll give you first-person shooter. I'll give you that. But when you're looking at Drake's best records, when you're looking at your Tuscan Leathers, when you're looking at your 8 a.m. in Charlotte's and your 4 p.m. in Calabasas, Drake has his diplomatic immunities too.
Yes, and I think they're extremely great written records. I don't deny it. Some of my favorite records of the 2010s. I just think that when you have to start bringing in a song like A Change, a For Your Eyes Only, A Tale of Two Cities, like these are concept records and the pen is different. Even now,
and Drake hasn't given you concept records like something like The Ride. And listen, I don't even know why you're going so deeply. I don't know why you're going so deeply into this argument, because I even told you that I think that yes, bar for bar, J. Cole is better in that sense.
Yes, absolutely.
But I'm looking at the whole picture here. I'm looking also at who picks the better beats. And when I look at the soundscapes that have been crafted, and I look at who Drake has worked with and the likes of Boy Wonder, Noah 40 Shabib, I feel like J. Cole sort of, his soundscapes have taken more from the past, and there's nothing wrong with Renaissance production, but when it comes to Drake, he's really formed his own identity through his sound, and that comes through the moody and ambient production, the underwater sound, and all of those types of ingredients that have given Drake's his own unique sound when it comes to his productions. And to be honest with you, I don't think that J. Cole's beats, and this is a common sentiment that a lot of people feel like the beats that J. Cole raps over for his features should be the types of beats that he's using for his catalog.
So name me weak productions in J. Cole's catalog.
I never said there's weak production. I said Drake's production is better and more unique to him as an artist.
What is better and more unique? That legitimately makes no sense.
I told you, he has his own sound. It's that dreamy atmospheric sound that he crafted through Noah 40 Shabib and
example, even something like a Way Too Sexy, for example, or a Girls Want Girls. You're telling me those are groundbreaking
I didn't say
records.
Every single beat. I said he formed his own sound, bro.
Absolutely, and so did J. Cole. Name me another person that has a beat like GOMD. Name me someone else that has a beat like, let's say, Change. Name me someone else that has a production like Applying Pressure.
Beats like GOMD. There's a nice, cool soul sample flipping some hard-hitting drums, all right?
But you don't hear productions like that.
Brand new.
But I could say the same thing for Kanye West then. Kanye West has nice soul sample flips. Okay, it's been done before by Pete Rock. What does that matter? What you're trying to do...
He popularized Chipmunk Soul. What do you mean, what does that matter, bro?
But it goes back to your conversation, though, is that J. Cole's production is unique. You never hear those types of beats on another project, and they are flawlessly produced albums. You try to knock down J. Cole's production in order to get this conversation, I feel like is blasphemy.
That's pretty funny, because I never knocked down his production. I said Drake picks better beats.
Rewind 45 seconds before this.
Needs his reassurance in the comment section. No, whatever makes you feel better by the end of the argument,
I don't need
bro.
my reassurance. I think that people even... you want to talk about features? Could we even go there? We could end the feature.
But what I will say is this, is that Drake's features are way more valuable than J. Cole's features in the sense of what they do for the game and how they literally birth careers. These features birth careers, bro.
Yes, absolutely. The exposure and the numbers. Okay, let's put the exposure and numbers aside. Who has the better feature game?
That's cool that he has a better feature game. I'm okay with that. But yeah, guys, let us know, Drake or J. Cole, who is the better rapper. Next up, though, we have Eminem versus Kendrick Lamar. And listen, I know that Eminem has had a legendary career over the course of multiple decades at this point. I think that when you're looking at his status, he has now become more of a legacy act, the way that a Snoop Dogg or a 50 Cent does, and the way that 50 Cent will go on tour and perform all of his hits from one singular album. I don't think that Eminem is totally ran out of gas, but I think that when you're looking at Kendrick Lamar, what's been awesome about Kendrick Lamar is that he's found this loophole in the mainstream market in the sense of being able to give you a lot of songs with a lot of substance that change people's outlook on life, that speak to communities in need and that are going through a lot of political, social turmoil, while still being able to have a bounce to his records,
absolutely.
This fun atmospheric type of vibe. But with Eminem, I just feel like my major issue of the reason why I think Eminem is underneath Kendrick Lamar in an all-time list is that I have to overlook a third of Eminem's career. Because if you look at his whole entire catalog, an entire third of his albums are not up to par.
So this is the way I'm going to answer that, okay? First of all, maybe we revisit this conversation in 10 years from now when we look at it the standpoint, okay, well, each of them have had their time in the game. The reason why is that I don't doubt that Kendrick Lamar is going to be able to surpass Eminem, let's say. But there's a lot of ground to be able to make up for that. What I'm saying is that Eminem has been active in low-key 4+ decades at this point, and still at this point, overall, we're putting him in those top 10 lists. This guy has been able to continue to build his legacy. And while I do agree, I think the latter half of his career has been quite disappointing, you cannot deny what this man has done for the genre, arguably having the greatest and most dominant 3-album run of all time with the
Is it a better 3-album run than Good Kid, Mad City, To My Butterfly and Damn?
I think so, absolutely.
I'm not sure about that one, bro.
No, absolutely. I do think it's on that level. And listen, I'm the least non-biased guy in this conversation.
All I know is that you made your top 10 albums list and you had Good Kid, Mad City, and To Be a Butterfly in there. Did you not?
No, I didn't. I only had To Be a Butterfly.
And you had it above the Marshall Mathers LP.
Yes, absolutely. But there's three. There's three in that conversation.
And Good Kid, Mad City can't compete with Marshall Mathers LP to you?
No. I don't
think so. It cannot
so.
compete. Wow.
It does not.
That's a really bad statement.
I don't think so. That's my opinion musically. I think that because if we wanted to do a free smoke on both of those albums, I'll do it gladly with you. That's just my personal opinion. I also think that when you have to look at both of these guys from a wordsmith standpoint, you would not have a Kendrick Lamar without Eminem. And he actually went on record and saying that he is his biggest influence, and one of them at that. A guy that has inspired the way that he's able to shape his pen. If we were to do a top 10...
Let me ask you this. Is Rakim better than Eminem? No, but he influenced him. Why are you playing that game?
This is going to go further into my point. Hold on. I need to finish my thought. I'm giving you the time of
day.
No,
you're not. Absolutely. You're not giving me enough time of day. You're hogging the entire debate. Go for it, though.
So what did you have to say?
Go ahead. Finish your thought,
So what I was going to say, if we had to do a top 10 lyricists of all time, and we spoke about this on the podcast, we would undeniably have Eminem over Kendrick Lamar.
I'm not only looking at lyricism, brother. I'm looking at catalog, and I'm looking at a bunch of other factors.
So even song records.
But even lyricism, he's not far off. Have you heard Nostalgia? Have you heard what Kendrick was able to do with a verse like that?
I'm very familiar with Nostalgia.
And there's a lot of other fucking verses where Kendrick Lamar...
Have you heard Eminem's first verse on Infinite? I could pull out examples, and that's not what I want to attack right now. I think at the bottom line for myself, give Kendrick Lamar 10 more years. Yes, he does surpass him, but it is too premature of a conversation to put Kendrick Lamar in front of Eminem as far as a legacy artist. I think he is on that route. I think he is on that route, but he has only been active for 12 years at this point. And I understand to some people that might be enough, but when you have to look at a sample size of Eminem versus Kendrick Lamar, I think, in my opinion, musically, it's a whole different league. You're looking at a guy that is competing amongst the Elton Johns, amongst the Beatles in music.
Yeah, because of numbers. Bro, listen to this. MC Hammer sold a diamond. He has a diamond album with MC Hammer. Don't hurt him. Does that make him one of the best ever? Fuck no.
But I'm talking about the iconic.
I'm not worried about that. He's up there with the Beatles with numbers. I don't care.
There's no need to get frustrated. We're not looking at that. There's no need to get frustrated.
I'm getting frustrated because you're not letting me talk. So can I give you my argument, or do you want to hog the entire debate? That's what I want to ask you. There you go. So the way that I want to make it, be placed into perspective for you is that look at it in terms of comparing filmmakers. For example, M. Night Shyamalan versus Quentin Tarantino. If you look at M. Night Shyamalan's career, the guy started off with early classics. He had The Sixth Sense. He had movies like Unbreakable, classic films, groundbreaking films. But then, as you went on later into his filmography, you found movies like The Last Airbender and a lot of so-so films and a lot of duds. You look at Tarantino's catalog, he doesn't have as many films out as M. Night Shyamalan, but every single movie is all killer. He has never missed on a project, and taking it back to Kendrick Lamar and Eminem, I'm sorry, but I'm not finding any facts in Kendrick Lamar's discography. I'm not finding any pukes. I'm not finding any venoms. I'm not finding any believes. I'm not finding a single project on the bottom tier of something like a revival. Kendrick Lamar has held himself to a certain bar from the beginning, to his early mixtapes that he was putting out with J-Rock before he was even signed, to what he's doing now. Kendrick Lamar has maintained that bar of quality. And as I was saying, in terms of a bar-for-bar conversation, you look at nostalgia and the play on numerology that he was doing there, the wordplay on the 9s and the 10s. You go to a verse like Control, where he had the balls to go after every single rapper in the game. This man is lethal, and this man, I'm sorry to tell you the truth, I like the whole the whole cartoon character aspect that you like to defend about the Marshall Mathers LP, but Kendrick Lamar is giving me substance, and that substance will result in music that is more timeless as time goes on.
When can I jump in?
Right
now.
You
just did your 2-minute monologue, and now you're going to complain the rest of the episode that I don't give you runtime.
I finally got to actually speak and get something off.
So you brought up a nostalgia verse, you brought up a Control verse, and you were telling me that he doesn't have venoms in his catalog. I think that's a convincing argument, but I look at what you're trying to say, and I get it. I come where you're coming from. So far, the track record is there, but it still holds no weight in my argument of saying that give Kendrick Lamar more time. I think he will get there. For the moment being, you have to see another 10 to 15 years before you could really judge it. I think it is too premature to put Kendrick Lamar over Eminem. I think what Eminem has done not only outweighs Kendrick as far as a catalog goes and a legacy goes, but maybe he will get there. You don't know if Kendrick Lamar is going to drop his next Venom or his next fucking Stepdad because he hasn't gotten there yet. So give both of them the time of day when you need to get there. I think it is too premature to say, and I just think that it becomes a useless conversation when you're trying to bring up those verses, because even when it comes to the battle rapping and the Control, I don't even want to have to talk to you about that because I know where that conversation is going. But let's keep going on with this next matchup, Joey Badass versus JID. So this one's interesting because you and I have had conversations about this personally. We're both extremely big fans of these artists. Some of the most beloved artists on the podcast and within the community have done amazing things for hip hop. I'm on the side of Joey Badass. I'm on the side of you're on the side of JID. Excuse me. I'll let you start with it. Go for it. What do you got?
Yeah, listen. When I think one aspect that we often overlook when putting artists in an all-time list, for myself at least, the way that I look at it is being able to follow an artist's journey from beginning to end. And when we're looking at both of their catalogs and their come up into the game, I think that 1999 has been the most important project to come out of both of their catalogs. And, it's not to say that Joey reinvented the wheel with that project, but he brought back 90s boom bap 90s boom bap into hip hop, and it was sort of this revival moment that everybody appreciated because he proved himself to be able to put himself alongside a lot of the best spitters of the 90s, and that was incredible to do at 17. But when I look at JID's catalog, I just feel like the evolution has been slightly more impressive, and I feel like going from DiCaprio to Para 2 to the Forever Story, that whole journey has been tremendous in the sense that I'm seeing JID flesh out these full force concept albums. I'm seeing him adapt into a singer and bringing his singing abilities into a song like Cody Blue 31, where he's putting in the work to take singing lessons and expand his craft. I'm seeing JID lean closer into his storytelling bag and create records like A Crack Sandwich and much more. So not only do I think that JID has had the better evolution, that he's on the path to surpass Joey Badass, but I also feel like on a technicality standpoint, JID is better when it comes to cadences. I think that his flow is like an elastic in the sense that he could stretch it out and adapt it to any certain beat. So those are my major arguments, is that the evolution from JID has been more impressive, and also from a technicality standpoint, I don't think that JID has the flows or the rapping ability of a JID. There you go.
Nice 2-minute monologue again. I appreciate it. Thank you for the deep thought.
And now here's your 3-minute monologue.
No, I don't. Let me ask you a question.
You can count yourself at the end of the video, bro.
I don't have to. I know where I stand with my arguments, and I think I make very good points this episode. So I don't doubt it. I think JID is on the rise of being this generation's next big one and being one of the best rappers to come out of the 2020s. Let me explain to you something. I feel like since JID's dominant run has started in 2017 with the Never story, I do feel like he has been on an upwards trajectory. But let's call a spade, and let's get into these catalogs because in my humble opinion, I think Joey still gets him. Like you said, 1999 would be the best record out of anything both of those artists released. When I look like a Before the Cash, when I look at something like, let's say, a 2000, when I look at an All-American Badass, for example, I think those three projects could stand up against something like the Forever Story, like the Never Story, and like a DC2, even a Bada 2. If anything, some of them are even slightly better for me than some of those records as well. So for myself, I'm giving Joey the catalog conversation. But I think it's a bit unfair because JID needs some time to be able to build out his catalog. But again, I want to go for the pen game. I think when it comes down to the pen game, yes, you're getting a lot of nice wordplay from JID. You're getting incredible storytelling on something like Crack Sandwich, profound writing on something like Assist in M. But in my opinion, if you go through both of those catalogs, you're not finding a verse like something on Survival Tactics. You're not finding that type of knowledge and that type of spirituality type of conversation on something like Example of Waves, for example. You're not finding the type of verses that you're finding on a Christ Conscious, a Paper Trails, something like a Legendary, something like a Babylon, something like a Super Predator. These types of verses are extremely valuable to hip-hop, and it is a completely different pen game when it comes down to his writing. Not only that, but I also feel like when you look at Joey Badass, he's had the whole 2010s to dominate. Give JID some time. I think when it's all said and done, yes, we could maybe have a bit more of an educated conversation when it's all said and done, but even looking at the types of songs that he was a part of, something like a One Train, for example, something like an Infinity 888, his ability to be able to mix and match with any sort of artist also, I feel like, works to his instrument, enabling. And
Jid hasn't done that with Imagine Dragons. Like, you're saying that as if Joey's done it and Jid hasn't.
I did not say that, guys. Rewind 10 seconds. Let me know if I said it. But looking at the way that Joey's been doing it, I feel like it's been more iconic over time. So that's why I think that you get it over there.
3 minutes, and you want to go for a fourth?
Yeah, I'll go for another one.
Go for a fourth.
Even if you look at what he did for the New York scene, you talk about it like it's this major renaissance and it really means nothing. Talk to anyone from New York and
guys,
ask
rewind.
them,
I never said it means nothing. Rewind for yourself.
So go back and try and find me, let's say, someone that impacted New York the way that Joey Badass did in the 2010s. He was the most dominant New Yorker.
Rocky.
He was the most
ASAP Rocky.
He was the most dominant New York MC of the 2010s, and he still is the best New York MC.
How is he the most dominant when he took a 5-year break in between All-American Badass and 2000? You said the most dominant. You have to dominate and you have to drop project
is
after
he not
project.
The best? Is he not the best?
Here's my major
is he not
argument.
The best New York MC here is
my major argument. I don't have to answer your question. I'm going to go into my actual argument and not waste time with yours. What I'm trying to tell you is that what's interesting to me is that, yes, they have 3 studio albums out each. I think that a lot of them are comparable. I think the Forever Story is better than everything except for 1999 by Joey Badass. And I think what's also interesting about this is the fact that when we talk about Jid and Joey Badass, Jid is actually older than Joey Badass, yet the narrative and the conversation and the feeling around the genre is that Jid is the future of hip-hop, and that's because he's been excelling, improving with every single project, and Joey Badass seems like he's still in the perspective of 2012 where he's giving you a sequel to an album that he made when he was 17, and he did that better when he was 17. I just feel like with Jid, I'm getting constant evolution. I'm getting spiritual tracks. So you're talking about spiritual tracks like Stars off of the Forever Story.
Is Stars on the level of a Survival Tactics?
They're 2 different songs, and you also have a Capital Steez verse in there, so it's hard to compare. What I'm trying to tell you is that, yes, you could argue that Joey Badass has the better project out of the 2, but when we're looking at trajectory and who's going to rank where when it's all said and done, it's going to be Jid.
When it's all said and done. You said it perfectly, and I said that at the beginning of the conversation.
No, but I also think that Jid's the better rapper. But like the pen in terms of the double entendres,
I told
all
you,
that.
Just give me the verses. Give me the verses over the ones that I named over Paper Trails at Christ Conscious.
Go back and listen to Off D's. Go back and listen to Surround Sound. Go back and listen to Never. Listen to Edit and Eddie.
No.
Go back and listen to them, bro.
I did, actually. I did for the sake of this conversation.
I don't think so, man.
Absolutely. But regardless.
Let's keep on going. The next debate, guys, and let us know, Jid or Joey Badass. We now have Gunna versus Lil Baby. And I'll be honest, I don't think either of them are in their best form right now. I think that we're catching them at a time where they've sort of gotten repetitive with a lot of their beats. They've also gotten to a point where the flows are sounding the same. I will give Gunna the fact that he has the hottest song of 2023. That was pretty cool to see him achieve that. When I'm looking at
I don't fuck with it either. I still don't like the record though.
What fuck you mean? Yeah, I mean it's.
But that's the thing though, is that like this is a bit more of a gray area for me because it depends what you want, all right? So I kind of weighed it out like this in my conversation and the way that I got it. So I'm going Gunna, by the way, guys. Looking at it from the lyrical and like flow and cadence standpoint. Obviously, for flow and cadence, I don't think it's even a debate. It's going to Gunna, right? We could agree on that.
For just flows, sure.
Just flow and cadence.
Yeah,
flow, cadence, voice. Yeah, exactly.
I don't know about cadence. I'd go more for flows.
Baby's
track presence is really powerful, bro, when he wants it to be.
Absolutely, but
really
I also think that Gunna has a bit more of a versatile sort of cadence. Example, you see him going into Afrobeat right now. He's able to like extend a bit more into different subgenres as well and able to go into that area. I think when you want to look at lyrics, though, you have songs like The Bigger Picture. You have certain important ones.
Emotionally Scarred, and I feel like Baby has always been the more interesting songwriter where I can actually clearly figure out what his thoughts are. It's more fluid. But I don't care if he's not Kendrick Lamar. He's able to give me good writing and also give me the same trap bangers that Gunna is. I get the best of both worlds with Baby for certain situations.
No, I think that's a false
Not only
claim.
that, but
No
I feel
way.
like when you look at how dominant they've been and the runs that they've been on, Lil Baby in 2020 was unbeatable. I don't think Gunna's ever had a run like that where he's giving you an amazing album like My Turn. He's giving you an onslaught of features that were pretty solid within that year. And then, piggybacking off of something like his performance on Donda, which was actually solid. But I feel like my major argument is that when it comes to both of these guys, they're not the biggest album artists. So what I'm looking for more than anything, and I think that what a lot of fans look for when a new Baby or a new Gunna era is upon us, is the hits, is the bangers. And if we were to do a versus battle right now, 20 songs versus 20 songs, tell me, what would you put against Freestyle, Yes Indeed, Pure Cocaine, Some to Prove, Wants and Need, Hurricane? What would you put against those to compete?
Well, are we
Tell
going
me.
with their features, or I'll do it?
Both.
I'll do it with you.
Yeah,
right
you have to
now.
pull it out. There you go. You can't even name off the top of your head.
You asked me to do it. You want to do a versus battle?
But could you name songs that would compete with Pure Cocaine, Freestyle, with songs like Ready? Could you name off the top of your head?
Let's go. I'll do it with you
No,
right now.
Fuck the laptop. Can you name the songs?
Lou, I'm willing to do this
There
with
you
you.
go. You have to pull it
Lou,
up.
pull up. No, Lou,
gotta pull it
dude,
up.
I have it up right now. We'll do it. We'll do a versus
Why can't
battle.
you name them off the top of your head if he has
I'll
so
go.
many hits, bro?
Okay, let's go. Can't Live Without It. Let's do Hot. Let's do Okay. Let's do
Can't Leave Without It.
Yosemite.
Baby's on as well. What do you mean? He's on the
Yeah,
same
it's a
song.
song. Yeah, it's a song. I just
Why
want-
even
I-
mention it in a
it still
versus
is.
battle? Like it's
It
both
still
their
is.
songs.
Life Goes On, Floyd Mayweather. That's an incredible song. I would even go on to something. Well, I bring up Fuck
I'm
You Mean
sorry,
in that
bro. That's
conversation.
not fucking with the ones that I
Space
mentioned.
Cadet. I would go P Power. I can't use Heating Up. That's a Lil Baby song.
We Paid, bro. What do you have to go up against We Paid or Whoa? What do you have to go against the Bigger Picture?
Listen,
you don't have anything,
You have
bro.
Lesbian in there as well.
Do you
have Met
honestly
Gala.
think that
have
Gunna has
Pedestrian in
songs to
there.
go up against Yes Indeed?
Yes.
What does he have to go against Yes Indeed?
Bro, I'll play a fucking Hot in there. What are you talking
What about My Dog?
I would go with something like an OK.
Okay versus My Dog.
Are you serious? Yeah, absolutely. You're talking like it's not a
You
good
really
song.
think that Gunna could beat Baby in a versus battle?
I think if I were
That's
to go,
insane.
but that's why I'm trying to ask you, Lewis, because you're not willing to do it and you're just trying to go for the spectacle.
I'm naming you songs,
but
brother.
regardless, let me get on to my argument because everything you said is absolutely untangible. If I were to go into a versus battle with you, I think I would actually get you. But regardless, I agree with what you said. They're not necessarily the best in both of those forms. So looking at the current form, it's kind of hard. I do think Gunna's most recent effort is slightly better. Then it's only me, or I don't know, bro.
Sure,
like I guess so.
I can give you that. I don't care.
I'll take that, But his 2022 release was much better. Diaz Forever, which was a much better album than It's Only Me. I'll give you the My Turn era. I think 2020 was absolutely fucking spectacular. But even going on to something like, let's say, Drip Harder. Bro, I'm sorry. You go to that album, and yes, even on that end, bro, a lot of those hooks, bro, and a lot of those melodies and productions play into Gunna's wheelhouse.
You know what my issue is?
You take Gunna out of that collaboration. Let me talk. You take Gunna out of that collaboration album. I am sorry, it is nowhere near as entertaining or as fucking beautiful of an album as it is.
Lil
without
Baby
Lil
outperformed Gunna, and if you go back to a song, let me talk. If you go to a song like Never Recover, for example, you'll hear how Gunna absolutely flatlines on that track. His cadence is so stagnant and stale. Then you hear Lil Baby on that song. Then you hear Lil Baby on that song, and you hear the ebbs and flows. You hear the different rhythmic cadences, and you feel like he's alive on that track. And that's something else I want to talk about, is that when it comes to their actual unique voices and sounds as artists, I feel like Lil Baby has more of that raspy, nasally, vocal inflections that gives him a bit of character. When I listen to Gunna, oftentimes I hear too many similarities to Thug, and it's okay to be influenced by an artist, but when they almost sound near identical, for which a lot of songs, Gunna, especially in his earlier work, sounded very much like Thug. why would I take the lesser, great version of an artist that sounds so similar to his Don?
It goes back to the influence conversation that you just made for myself.
There's a difference between being influenced and sounding too much like somebody else.
There's no way I listen to Gunna and I feel like I'm listening to Barter 6. I think that's a horrible claim to make, but even the shelf life on their sound, brother, we know where it's going with Lil Baby. You know where it's going with Gunna. I'm sorry, you hear the shelf life in both of those sounds and you hear the longevity. We know where it's going with Lil Baby. You even said it yourself. You are tired of that sound. You're getting the
tired
same
of Gunna too.
You're getting the same verse.
We had the same complaints on the Gunna album. That's what you're feeling to realize is that both of them are in the same box for being in weak form in current day. But when I look at Baby's highs, I have an incredible run. I have dominant features.
You don't have one.
I have great rap songs like The Bigger Picture. I have great collaborations all across the catalog.
You don't have Hot? What I'm saying is that all these things...
Yeah, I have Yes Indeed, bro. I'll take Yes Indeed over Hot any day.
I don't. You look at what's going on in both of those catalogs, they're basically around the same wheelhouse. I just think that Gunna's sound is aging a lot better, and I also think that if you had to do a trade-off of Lil Baby's lyricism, quote-unquote, and Gunna's flow and cadence, I'll go Gunna's flow and cadence every single day. But let's go on to Future versus Travis Scott. Are we getting into
this? This is going to be, I think, the last matchup of the day. This is going to be an interesting one to go through. Listen, when it comes to, Travis Scott, I feel like Travis and Tyler are the closest artists that we've come to getting that have fallen in the line of Kanye West in the sense of being hands-on curators and hands-on artists that are able to have their touch, their Midas touch on everything involved with their albums.
Why don't you get that the J.Cole and the Drake conversation then?
I mean, yeah, when it comes to J. Cole, he's not produced everything, and neither is Travis.
He's produced over 90% of his catalog.
Is it really over 90%?
He's produced over 90%
I don't think
it's
of his catalog. 90%.
Go through all of 2014.
I have to go look into that.
But, obviously, T- and a lot of other
the off-season, I don't think he produced too much on there.
It's a lot of his own production as well. Listen, you could go through the credits. You guys could count them. But I listen, I know where you're going with this. You're going to go with the production. You're going to go with the versatility. You're going to go with the discography. I'll give you all the points. I don't even want to hear the arguments. We don't even have to get into that. That's absolutely, there's
so
no
what's your argument? Future was the first rapper to bring in auto-tune into the trap scene. Okay. We've heard that before.
I don't even think he was the first. Was he the first?
He was one of the first. He was definitely the first to popularize it. That's for damn sure.
So I'll start off with that argument then. That was actually something I wanted to get into. I think when you get into the influence sort of conversation...
I'm happy you brought that up again.
Yeah, absolutely. Because maybe you're going to say that Travis maybe does it a bit better, or you could say that overall, whatever the case may be. But regardless, though, if you understand the magnitude of Future as an artist and you look at the modern trap soundscape of what's going on right now, and even not in 2023, you look at the 2020s decade, it is all Future clones when it comes even down to the substance matter, when it comes down to the romantic talk mixed in with the auto-tune. It is all little Future clones all across the board. And regardless, though, I still stand by it. When I think we did the Free Smoke on Rodeo versus DS2, right?
We did, yeah.
Yeah, I still stand by it. I think DS2 would be Travis's best album. And I think that when you have to look at the 2015 run that Future had, like you were saying for Lil Baby in 2020, I think that holds a lot of weight in this conversation. It is the most dominant year that either of those rappers have had. I think that even when you look at them stylistically, voice-wise, I like a lot more of Future's voice. I think it's a lot more distinct. I think that Travis maybe gets him on the vocal effects, but Future's raw and raspy voice with that deep tone to it adds a lot more to the track presence. And yes, I'll give you the catalog conversation, but even at that, I think it's an extension of where they're both at in their careers and how many different albums they've released. So I'm going Future in this conversation.
Yeah, it's not my fault that, Travis Scott actually takes time with the projects and releases when he has a quality project. And that's where I want to start off is the fact that when Travis Scott drops an album, it's a timestamp. It's an event. It's a well-curated body of work. And Travis Scott has never lost his mojo. If you look at from his start in 2013 all the way to 2023, the man has literally never put out even a weak project or even a mid project at that. When I look at Future, for example, he's like Austin Powers. When he has that mojo, when he has the sauce, he's unstoppable. But once he loses the mojo, you're getting cookie clutter. He didn't. Let me finish. Let me talk. He didn't have the mojo on High Off Life. He didn't have the mojo on I Never Liked You. He didn't have the mojo on Beast Mode 2. He didn't have the mojo on some of his earlier projects, and that's where they get separated. But now to go into, because the catalog and the production, we know that Travis has much better production, way more diverse,
I'd say,
way more
much better
experimental.
is a bit of a statement. I mean, even looking at Prime Metro Boomin and Prime Southside,
those the next monologue is upon us.
I just let you speak for 45 seconds. You got to at least give me a bit of runtime.
You spoke for 2 fucking minutes before me. How? No, I will interrupt you because you're interrupting me. And when I'm talking about the auto-tune argument, was Steph Curry the first guy to shoot a three-pointer? No. But he was the guy who mastered sinking those buckets, bro, at the end of the day.
And when it comes... went on to his monologue. That's crazy.
Oh,
come
brother,
on!
bro.
I was
you
just in the middle of
making fucking 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, and I let you speak after.
For 30 seconds, not even.
No, I had a point.
All right, bro, run with it, brother. Go. I'll go back to talking once you're done your little spiel. Go.
You're visibly frustrated, and I don't think that's ever a good thing in a debate. Usually
because you're being a hypocrite on this episode. No. You're asking for time to speak. That when I have 30 seconds, you interrupt me and go on a second 2-minute monologue in the same debate.
Never that deep, bro. It's never that deep. No, it's never that deep to get frustrated with it. But even looking at the Future's production, you didn't give me a time to explain myself. I think maybe, yes, you do.
You literally said, we're not talking about production. I don't want to hear those arguments. You're the one that said it. Came out of your mouth, not mine, brother. You said, fuck the production conversation. I still can't get my point off. But you're being hypocritical in this debate. You are. You said forget production. Now he brings in production.
Lou, I have to get my point across.
I don't know what you want to do, bro. Do you want to speak about production or not? Because you said no, and now you want to speak about it. So go for it. Now you change your mind, I guess. Go.
Why did you just interrupt me like 3 different times? Like we've just spent like a minute of this video just you getting your thoughts off and your anger.
Because you're not making sense.
Again,
your arguments are contradicting themselves.
Bro, let
but
me
go
speak,
for it.
Please, bro. It's actually annoying. What I'm trying to say is that when the production comes down to it, you have to look at it. Yes, maybe it's a bit more unique and maybe it's a bit more complete on the album sequencing side of things, but to completely dismiss the conversation of a Prime Metro Boomin and a Prime Southside would be out of whack. I'm sorry. You see, Future still has some of the best ears for production in the trap lane that we've ever seen. That's all I wanted to say. Done? I wanted to make that point. Yeah, I just wanted to make that point. But going into your conversation, if he's not the first to do it, I mean, you don't have to be the first to do it to be the best at it. And
exactly,
I agree with
and
you.
That's the point, that Travis Scott took the auto-tune and mastered it. If you look at a song, for example, like Wasted, and you listen to his low bassy vocals and the way that those vocals bleed into the bass line, that's an example of Travis Scott's nuances and the way that he's able to make his vocals bleed into his production. And I think that even if you're looking melodically, if you're looking at songs like I Know by Travis Scott, or if you're looking at songs like Wake Up in comparison to some of Future's best melodic tracks like Selfish or anything you want to choose off of Hendrix, Travis Scott also excels in that melodic trap bag the same way that he will in that hype trap bag. And I also think that Future does not have a single project that could touch a Rodeo or an Astroworld. And again, when it comes to hits versus misses ratio, we all know that Travis Scott has had the better resume.
All right, so I guess it's my time to speak now. So going back into the Future conversation of him and his auto-tune, I do feel like he is better with his auto-tune in certain instances than not. I do feel like Future also gets Travis Scott on the mic presence and the way that he's able to be dominant on a track, example like a March Madness, like a Stick Hog, like an example like a Fuck Up Some Commas. I could go on to Feds Did a Sweep, Mask Off. I mean, I'm so groovy. I have so many different ways to go about it. I also think that Future has a lot better flows to offer on a certain track and the way that he's able to be better with his rhythmic timing. Example, going into something like an All Right or that March Madness track, there's just a certain level of quality when you have to look at Future's cadence and the way that he's able to be present, but also he never misses on his flows or the way that he actually becomes a part of his production. And as I said, I think that mixed in with his influence and the way that he's opened up this trap lane for so many different people, just kind of like a Kanye West did with rap music as a whole with 808s and Heartbreak. Future did that with trap music in 2015. So listen, guys, I think we're going to end it there for today. Let us know in the comment section, who do you think won today's debate? Let me know which arguments would you like to see next, and let us know if we should do a part 2 of this. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, or I think it was actually Lou, you mentioned it, where we have the debate here. So we have all kinds of videos like this. They're available to you on the Patreon plan. Go for it. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.